Hey there, good morning. I hope your coffee's hot this morning, your tea just right. May the migrating birds that stop outside your window bring the knowing that something, somewhere is different but good. I am wishing you and the people you love and our neighbors here in the US and around the globe safety and connection today and every day. My name is Grover. Today is Tuesday, December 3rd, and this is Grover Reads the News. Would you like to hear the news for today? If so, keep listening. Next up, news about the U.S. presidential transition. Donald Trump has announced more picks to fill his administration, including former Arkansas governor, former pastor, Fox News host, and Israel tour guide for Christian visitors, Mike Huckabee, to be the ambassador to Israel. Huckabee is a leader in the Christian Zionist movement who use Christian reasoning to argue for a Jewish state as some part of a biblical Israel and see biblical Israel's war as part of scripture foretelling the rapture or end times, meaning they believe that war in the Middle East is a sign of the return of God to earth. Trump has also announced his pick as ambassador to France, Ivanka's father-in-law, Charles Kushner, as ambassador. Kushner pled guilty and was sentenced to 2 years in prison for 16 counts of tax evasion, 1 count of retaliating against a federal witness, and another count of lying to the Federal Election Commission. Trump pardoned him in 2020. Trump named Pam Bondi, former Attorney General for Florida, as his next nominee for Attorney General of the United States. He did this hours after his previous pick, former Representative Matt Gaetz, withdrew his name from consideration amid sexual misconduct allegations. Bondi, as former Attorney General of Florida, was a vocal critic of the criminal cases brought against Trump. Candace Norwood of the 19th News reports that as Attorney General, Bondi led an effort to challenge President Barack Obama's Affordable Care Act before the U.S. Supreme Court over its contraception coverage mandate. As Florida's Attorney General, Bondi requested that the Florida State Supreme Court overrule lower court decisions that found the state's same-sex marriage ban unconstitutional. She also defended a Florida law that at the time required women to wait 24 hours after meeting with a physician to receive an abortion. She showed sympathy for Kyle Rittenhouse, a white 17-year-old who traveled from Illinois to Wisconsin with an AR-15 and fatally shot 2 men during protests in response to the police murder of George Floyd. Bondi referred to Rittenhouse as, quote, a little boy out there trying to protect his community. In 2012, Bondi supported a controversial immigration bill modeled after the Arizona law that allowed police to ask for immigration papers from people that they suspected were in the country illegally. There are 48 days until the presidential inauguration. Next, an update on U.S. domestic policy about trans rights. Sarah McBride, a Delaware state senator, was elected to the U.S. House of Representatives in November and will be the first trans person in the U.S. Congress. In a transphobic response, South Carolina Representative Nancy Mace introduced a resolution that would ban trans women from using the women's restroom. Then House Speaker Mike Johnson introduced a rule change that trans people would not be allowed in any restroom facilities in the Capitol and House office buildings that do not correspond with the sex they were assigned at birth, citing that trans people could use unisex bathrooms or the private ones in a congressperson's office. Sarah McBride said, I'm not here to fight about bathrooms. I'm here to fight for Delawareans and bring down the cost facing families. I will follow the rules as outlined by Speaker Johnson, even if I disagree with them. Nancy Mace, the representative who introduced the initial resolution, says she wants to extend the legislation to every federal building, school, public bathroom, everywhere. For context, anti-trans bathroom bills gained traction as a political cudgel for Republicans in North Carolina in 2016. At the time, corporations across the country pledged boycotts, and the bill was rolled back in 2017. But in recent years, the anti-trans bills have passed in many Republican-led states with little response from corporations or other outside accountability actors. There are now anti-trans bathroom rules in 14 states. This summary relies primarily on the reporting from Megan Vasquez and Mariana Alfaro at the Washington Post. Next, we have information about global conflicts in Europe. In Europe, tensions are heightened about Russia's war on Ukraine and fears it could expand to other European countries. John Henley, Miranda Bryant, and Kate Connolly at The Guardian reported that Germany, Norway, Sweden, and Finland are increasing communications about emergency response to war preparations with their residents, including a Finnish pamphlet titled, "Would You Survive 72 Hours?" Germany is developing an app to help people locate the nearest bunker. Sweden is distributing a 32-page pamphlet titled, "If Crisis or War Comes," and 500,000 Finns have already downloaded an emergency preparedness guide. Germany's defense minister, Boris Pistorius, said they are taking steps to get populations kriegstüchtig, or war-capable. The Guardian spoke with Muna Ayan, a healthcare worker from Stockholm, who is concerned about how unconcerned many Swedes are. Having experienced conflict firsthand in Somalia, Ayan said she is frightened. Quote, "I'm scared because I know what war means. I have survived war," she said, adding that she stocked up on water, battery lights, candles, and Vaseline. She was also trying to work out how to tell her 5 children without scaring them. For people from Somalia, Syria, or Iraq, talk of conflict in Sweden was traumatic. She said, quote, "We who have been in war, we are not well. We are very worried, because if there is war, we know what will happen. In war, we have lost relatives. Some children will disappear," unquote. In other European nations, tension over whether countries will align more with the EU or Russia has resulted in political upsets, protests, and turmoil. Democracy Now! Reports that tens of thousands of protesters took to the street in the country of Georgia last week, and more than 200 have been arrested. Protesters denounced the Georgian government's decision to suspend its bid to join the European Union. Georgian President Salome Zurabichvili, who backs joining the EU, said she'll refuse to leave office until new parliamentary elections are held, following allegations of fraud against the governing Georgian Dream Party, which claimed victory last month. Georgian Prime Minister Irakli Garibashvili praised police violence against protesters and has said his government won't resume debate on joining the EU until 2028. Last month, the country of Moldova voters only narrowly elected the party and Prime Minister Maia Sandu, who aligns with the European Union, rather than aligning more with Russian influence. Next week, Romanians will hold a second vote after the first round of Romanian presidential election, which propelled ultranationalist and far-right Galin Gurăsașu to victory, partly thanks to a late explosive surge in view counts of his TikTok content. TikTok has removed 3 influence campaigns based on violations of their election rules. One known campaign that was previously tied to a Kremlin-backed outlet, Sputnik, that had cropped up again on its platform after being removed. Finally, we have animal news about manatees. According to a new study, the Amazonian manatee is a seed disperser. After previous research in the Amazon and the Caribbean showed that manatees were not seed dispersers, researcher Michelle Gutierrez found germinating grasses in the feces of manatees. Weighing up to 1,200 pounds, manatees eat up to 88 pounds of aquatic plants per day and migrate long distances. In the Amazon, seed dispersal and plant distribution are intrinsically linked to rivers, flood, and drought cycles. This finding shows that the manatee is a crucial vector for dispersing seeds between fertile areas such as floodplains and nutrient-poor areas such as the swamp forest known as igapos. This activity enhances biodiversity in Amazonian environments, especially in times of climate change and environmental degradation. Despite its vital ecological function, the manatee is listed as vulnerable to extinction. Illegal hunting, facilitated by periods of extreme drought, is one of the main threats, along with climate change, which affects both their diet and their migratory routes. Researcher Piede explains that during floods, water is the main disperser in floodplains and igapos, especially of aquatic and semi-aquatic plants. Quote, "The plants bear fruit and their seeds fall into the water. Then the fish eat them and take them into other habitats located upstreams or in nearby areas," she explained, referring to studies that have found seeds in the digestive tracts of fish. In addition, they deliver the seeds with natural fertilizer, a real gardening kit. Gutierrez sees her findings as yet another argument for manatee conservation. Quote, "We always emphasize environmental education to raise awareness about the importance of manatees for the Amazon, including the health and well-being of communities that depend on the river, floodplain, and water and forest." Piede adds, "By fertilizing the waters and transporting seeds, manatees contribute to biodiversity. Protecting this species means protecting the ecosystems and the populations that depend on it." This story was reported by Taigo Moda y Silva from Mongbei. Thank you for joining me to hear the news today. If you like what you hear, please give the show 5 stars on your podcast app so it will raise to the top of others' feeds who are looking for a calm and connected way to keep up with the news. This podcast is available in a digest form where you can listen to the sections you're ready for and take a pass on the rest. That's over at the Substack app, groverreadsthenews.substack.com. There you can subscribe as a free or paid subscriber, including subscribing as a yearly or founding supporter, which makes it possible for this offering to continue. Thank you to those who have already shared, subscribed, and become a paid subscriber. As the news keeps unfolding, know that we don't have to face it alone. We can do it together. Until next time, be well.